going to be just a little bit different. We decided we wanted to do an overview of what we have done this year together and what we're trying to do for the future as well. So really looking back and looking forward. And the more we looked at all the things that we have done together as a church, we were really kind of moved to say, we really need to talk about this. We've got to kind of get some, access the joy that goes with all the things that God has done in us and through us. And so instead of me just doing this, I decided to ask our executive pastors, Pastor Jared. He is in charge of all things that happen on a Sunday morning and also all the buildings. So if there's any problems, he is Jared at northwestorlando.com. Send all your complaints to him. And then, of course, Pastor Aslan is in charge of all midweek, during the week ministries and administrations as well. And so there's lots of things that they know of that I don't really know of, and that I really wanted them to be a part of how we're doing this. Now, you already know that if you've been a part of our church, we've been trying to build a brand new building up off of 429. We've got the property. We have 15 acres. It's all paid off. And we've squirreled away a lot of money as well. It's very exciting what we're doing, except the cost has just keeps going up and up and up and up. And so I don't want to bankrupt us as a church just to try and build an edifice for my memory, because it's not about me. But that is only a goal that we have, a goal of building a new building. But our vision is to build a church for generations, is to bring the kingdom of God here on earth as it is in heaven, as Jesus taught us. And so I'm sure many churches say that too, and I'm glad that they're doing it as well, so that many Christians around the world have the same vision, the same focus to plant churches that last for generations, not just for current generations, but for generations to come. So then the question is then, how do we go about doing that? Well, vision is what you see, and mission is what you do. Vision is what you see, and mission is what you do, or how you do it. You probably heard me say this quite a few times this year and over the years. The way we do this is that we gather, grow, and go. Gather, grow, and go. Now, it's basically a catchy way of trying to help us to remember how we operate as a church. And so I wanted to quickly explain how we came up with this before we jump into all the things that we do together as a church. If you look in the book of Acts, when Jesus had risen from the dead, and he's now the resurrected Christ, and he spent about 50 days here on earth meeting with his disciples, meeting with other people and telling them, hey, it's true, I am the Messiah and I am going to build my church through you. Wait for me in Jerusalem and I will send the Holy Spirit and you'll receive power from on high. Well, when we read that in Acts chapter 1 verse 14, it says they all joined together constantly in prayer. And then in chapter 2 verse 1, it says, and when the day of Pentecost, that's when the Holy Spirit came down and filled them up with power. And when the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. And then even in Acts 2:46, every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. So you can see that they were getting together and how important it is to get together. And if COVID has taught us anything, it's to not trust the government or the news. No, I'm kidding. If it's taught us anything, it's taught us that we need each other, right? We do. We need. That's the way God has designed it, that we need each other. And so that's why we believe that gathering together is an important thing. You probably heard us say, you can try and have a relationship with Christ by yourself. Well done. If you can do it, absolutely wonderful thing, and you should be able to do it. But we also need the community of Christ. We need the body that Jesus has died for, and that's why we gather together. So then that leads us from gathering together to growing together. In Acts chapter 2, verses 42, it says that's the early church, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and the breaking of bread and to prayer. Now, devoting themselves to teaching and fellowship is learning from one another and leaning on one another. That's why we need both of those things. And then breaking of bread and to prayer is our communion and our union with the Father. So you've got a vertical relationship with one another, a horizontal relationship with one another, and a vertical relationship with the Father as well. We need those two relationships in our life to operate properly in a way that we can grow as a church. And I believe that we're meant to grow together. But if we just gather together and we try and grow together, then we're basically a dead church. No, wait a second, we're gathering and we're growing. There's life going on. No, if we don't live out the Great Commission of Christ, then we are dead in our faith. It must follow that our works have to be the evidence of what we believe, that we are saying that Jesus is the Messiah, and he's told us to go and preach the good news to the rest of the world. Well, look at this. Acts chapter 2. 6 chapters later, they're operating as a church, high-fiving each other with all the miracles that are going on and the gifts that they're receiving and the revelation, the teaching they're getting. They're going, this is amazing. But they hadn't gone and done what Jesus had told them to do. Jesus has said, go into all the world and preach the good news, first to Jerusalem, then to Samaria, then to the ends of the earth. And they stayed in Jerusalem. Watch this in Acts chapter 8. It says, on that day, a great persecution broke out against the church in Jerusalem, and all except the apostles were scattered throughout the world, which is exactly what God wanted to happen. He wanted them to go and take the good news to other people. Verse 4, those who had been scattered preached the word wherever they went. Now, Jesus hasn't promised us an easy life. He's told us we'll probably be persecuted. That's for sure. But I don't want to be persecuted because I've been sitting on my backside, right? I want to be persecuted because I'm trying to do the work of Christ. And I think that if we are all in this room and we're the disciples of Christ, then this is us. We have to take what God has given us in this body of believers and take it outside of these 4 walls and do something with it, right? That's what discipleship is all about. So today, we're going to be looking back and looking forward to see what we think that God has done in us for this year and what is he calling us to do for the following year. So the first category we're going to look at is gathering together. Pastor Aslan, please.
We have really practiced this year, gathering together. We had 54 small groups this year. I'm really proud of that number. And we don't put numbers up here to be like, look, more numbers it represents us gathering together and the hard work that you are doing. And we're proud of that because we know that coming here on a Sunday is good and important, but it's very easy to walk through these doors, be here and walk back out, and no one really knows you. And so small group is really the place that we can gather together in smaller numbers and really be known and study the word and pray for each other and encourage each other. And so Kim and Casey Stagg head up our small group ministry here, and so we're really proud of all of you, even that stepped out this year in a new way and opened a small group for the first time. Sometimes the groups are small or short, like a 4-week book study, and some groups go on and on for long periods of time. But however you've stepped out, either in participating in that or opening a group, we're really proud of that this year. So thank you. We also had 51 events. Now, when I say events, I'm not talking about youth group that happens every week or the young adult hangouts that happen every week and these regular rhythms. These are events outside of Sunday that have taken place. That is almost an event a week. You guys, that is wild, and I'm so proud of this because there is such ownership in this church. And the reason I know that is because at each one of these events, it's not one of the pastors guiding it with the microphone leading the event. It's each of you. It's all of you that have taken ownership. And some of the events we do, like marriage conferences, the fall festival, the family camp where we camp all weekend, all the different things, worship nights. This all represents the different areas you guys are passionate about and the way that you serve this church to cause engagement to happen during the week. So we're really proud of all the hard work everyone's done. Youth group. This year we took on two new youth directors, which is Brandon and Angela. They're somewhere in the room. And they have just done a phenomenal job with the youth group. We have about 70 youth that come out every Wednesday to gather together in small groups. They've run 2 getaways this year. And this year they also started a smaller discipleship program and taking a few youth through that at a time, and they're planning to ramp that up next year and help more kids get discipled on a more personal level. And so we're really, really proud of all the work and their heart for the youth in our community. We also have done a lot with marriage this year. We had a marriage refresh, which is like our marriage conference. Phil and Molly Chang head up our marriage department here at Northwest. And they have really done a great job. They are mentored by a ministry that elsewhere, I don't even sure where they're located, but they're mentored by 2 pastors that carry a large marriage ministry, and so they've gone through that training to provide marriage help and marriage conferences. And Phil told us a statistic recently. He said that only 20% of churches have a director that oversees marriage, that kind of ministry. And that's not to dog other churches. It's new for us to also have someone in charge of this. But it's just amazing to think about how important marriage is and how few churches are utilized to help resource those marriages. So we're really proud of the work that they're doing. We also had some changes happen on Sunday, which is you.
Yes, we're going to hear more about the Sunday changes next week, but Lindsay McNaught, who was at the first service, actually has stepped up to take over and run our nursery, which is incredible because we average just under 50 people a week that are 4 and under. Let that sink in for a minute. That is a lot of 4 and under. It's incredible, and Lindsay's like, yeah, those are my people. I want to do that. But she has incredible vision. She doesn't believe that they're just in charge of keeping them safe. That's part of it. But she believes that a relationship with Christ can start at that early of an age and an understanding of God's relationship with us. So she's going to share about that next week. We're going to have her come up. Also, Kids Church. One of the incredible things when you develop great leaders, it enables you to plant churches like we did in Winter Garden. And then you send all your great leaders to Winter Garden, predominantly from the kids' church area, and it leaves a void, but not of great leaders. It created an opportunity for people to realize the gifting that they had in them. It created a space for them to move into the gifting that was always there. So it's incredible. It hurt for a couple of months when we were trying to figure everything out, but Rebecca Fiella and Emily Wafer have done an incredible job all year running the kids' church. They've got a lot of changes they've made, a lot of incredible things. Again, next week they're going to come up and kind of give you the vision for your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, what God has put in their heart for this year for them. For Sunday Go teams, these are the teams that make a Sunday happen. They put the chairs up, they make the coffee, they play the music, they turn on the sound and the lights, and they make sure everything's clean. It's a lot of teams that happen. And Pastor Phil sent me a video actually this week. He's very prophetic. And so he sent me a video that was a great synopsis of our role. That the pastors and the elders, the pastors and apostles, we are equipping the saints to go do the work of the gospel. We are here to help you refill and refuel and to be strong and resilient to go do the work of the gospel like we've all been called to do. And these Sunday Go Team volunteers, that is what they do. They come here to create an environment and a space where you can receive. You can get a warm cup of coffee and not worry that your seat is like facing the wrong direction. And like there's little things that add up to a great experience and opportunity. It's a thing. An opportunity to receive from God. This year alone, we've had 47 new people say yes. I want to be on a Go team. That means they're coming here early. Sometimes they're dragging their children with them. They are here at some people get here at 6:30 on a Sunday to set up and be sure that this is ready for you guys to come and be refilled and just encouraged to go out and do the work of the gospel. So it's incredible.
I love it. Such a great community, it really is. And as we move from gathering, we also have to have a strategic plan of how do we grow as disciples of Christ as well, in discipleship, not growing just in knowledge, but becoming the ones who are discipling other people too. So this past year, we always have a topic every year, but what we have done, every month, but what we did is we decided to do a topic for every specific Sunday, and we found it was very productive. We got some great feedback. We're going to do that for next year as well. We've already planned out every teaching for next year. And you might go, but what about the Holy Spirit? Where is he going to move? He can move whichever way he wants. We're not saying we're set in stone here. We've not chiseled it into stone. We've also this year added 2 more elders to our team. We are super excited by this. Really excited about it. Why? Because as we have grown as a church, we realize we need more people that can be really responsible for shouldering the responsibility for the spiritual temperature of our church, and also to keep us accountable as pastors as well. So Rick Ramott and Jim Sellers came on board to become 2 of our new elders as well. So if we do have problems, you know who to go to, right? This year as well, we also went to a conference called Exponential Conference that we've become very connected to over the last few years. And we actually had the most people of any church that went to this conference this year. And they're like, I don't know how you brought so many people. I basically manipulated everyone to go, so that's how I brought so many people. But it's the largest church planting conference in the world, and it's here in Orlando. And it's held in First Baptist Orlando, but it's actually it's a network of churches around the country, and now they have started up a network of churches and the conference over in Europe as well. And this last year, they decided to do a video about us as an example of a church that actually has made a decision, we're going to go plant churches. And so they interviewed Crystal and I, and they sent that video around the country and now around the world as well at all these conferences to say, listen, these guys can do it. You can as well. This guy's not smart for a start, but you can do it as well. And we were really honored to be able to be a part of that as well. And then, of course, this year we also had 56 new first-time givers. Now, that's important to me. It really blesses my heart. Why? Because we need time, talent, and treasure to do all the things that we do. So I'm very grateful for each and every one of you that decided to say, we want to put our treasure where our heart is, and we're going to give here at this church. Pastor Jared.
That kind of generosity goes so far. It might seem like an odd number to some of you, but in the Bible, Jesus actually speaks about money more than any other topic, which is incredible. So it's a very common thing to talk about, and it's an important topic. And generosity is a huge part of who we're called to be as believers and as brothers and sisters, to be generous to one another. This 56 new first-time givers leads directly into 38 people have been baptized this past year in this congregation. It's incredible. And how those two tie together is that what most of you don't know is outside of the people in our congregation who have been baptized here, more than 20 people from other churches have been baptized here. They don't have the resources that we do. They don't have a baptismal. They don't even have a person with a pool in their congregation. But we open our building so they can come and get baptized and take that next step in their walk of faith. And that's why this generosity is so important, because it not only keeps our building comfortable and looking nice, but it allows us to be a resource to others who are less fortunate. And we don't want their ministry to have to slow down because maybe they don't have something that they need. And so it's very important to us to not just support this church, but the church community in Central Florida. We are connected with many different churches. When we upgrade sound and lighting systems, we send those to other churches who don't have it. We try to be the best stewards that we can be of everything that we have. Oh, the chairs. When we changed the chairs, we drove them. We sent them to another church. They had been donated to us. We took good care of them, and we donated them to another church after we were finished using them. It's incredible. We have to be as the best stewards with what God has given us that we can be. The next thing is 6 new Sunday Go team leads. Now that might seem like a weird stat to be on there, but the people who run the teams that make us Sunday happen, they are saying yes to giving up basically a year of their life to develop and grow spiritually, just their team, to teach them things, to increase them, to empower them, to schedule them on a Sunday, to be sure everything happens on a Sunday as it should happen. And it's a big commitment to make. And this year, 6 different people have said, I am willing to sign up for a year of doing this, of every Sundays come every week. It seems relentless sometimes. There's always another Sunday coming. And they have committed to not only just getting it done, but getting it done well, and then following Christ in that and seeing what God has to do for them. So that's just a huge commitment that we've had from people stepping up and owning a piece of this church. It's incredible.
In this growing section, some of the growing that has happened during the week between Monday and Saturdays is we've had men's encounters. This is a weekend that we hold every year, 2 of them, one for men, one for women. And it's hard to describe what happens at an encounter, but if you haven't been, I really encourage you to make it a priority for 2025. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's a weekend to encounter God, and you're setting aside time in the way that he meets us. This has been pivotal for our church for the last 25 years, is we have run these without ceasing consistently, because there's something miraculous that happens at these weekends. And so we had that this year, which we saw even physical healing happen at. This is a little bit of a nerdy thing, but if you're type A like me, have you been excited about the monthly newsletter? Anybody? Any nerds out there? It was, yeah. I love that. I love when I get ahead of the month and I get all the dates and I can put them in my calendar. So if you haven't received that, go talk with the Next Steps team, because you just need to be in our system, and then that will be sent to you each month. And then we offered several different kinds of classes in-house this year to help us grow, to help us receive healing. We offered one that was on bitterness, how to be delivered and healed from a spirit of bitterness. We had it on childhood wounds, and some parenting classes offered. And so this is just a small sampling of the things that happen Monday through Saturday for us to have the opportunity to heal and grow and keep receiving all that we can in Christ.
So then we go from gather, grow, and we move into go. Go, 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 go is what Jesus told us to do. And this year we started our first ever winter garden campus. It completed nearly a year. What a phenomenal year it has been. It really has. I'm going to tell you, it's been challenging. It's been difficult because we've never really done it this way before. We've only just grown our church and our ministries, and now we're trying to plant new churches. And so it's a huge thanks to you as well, because you have actually financially supported the growth of that as well. And Pastor Ryan and Pastor Grace going off and collaborating with this other church that really needed us to take over what they were doing. And we've actually now had a few other churches that have approached us as well and said, hey, can we get in talks with you to talk about possibly we're going to do a collaboration with you as well. We would like to kind of come under your umbrella and under your wing. So that's really neat. It really is such a huge blessing. Aslan.
Something else that happened this year is we have the Lovely Project. This is our outreach that we do to the community. There's many ways we can be an outreach, but this is just the one that we pursue, the one that God has provided for us. And so the Lovely Project, if you don't know, we go into schools and we provide peer mentorship for young girls. And it's been just a really encouraging year. We have 20 groups, which is the most we've ever had. And so we're really excited about that. And, you know, as you're seeing, as we're reviewing everything we did this year, we do a lot in the church. We do a lot here, but this is our step to go out into the community. Jeremiah 27:9 says, do good work in the city that I've placed you in. And so we are really proud of this work that we do, providing this safe place for girls and this connection. And we host events throughout the year. And of course, the ultimate goal is to build community, to be a bridge between the community and the church. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, but we are proud of just doing good work in our community as well, as God has called us to be light. And I also just want to highlight that that none of the work that we do, the events we put on, the groups, none of that is financed directly from our funds here. There were a group of men several years ago that are excellent businessmen, and they were like, you know what, we want to raise funds to support this work so that there is independent money for this to keep moving forward. And so every year they fundraise for us, and they raise all the profits that we use to be able to go into the schools. And we're so thankful for that. It's amazing. And so it's really cool to see that God will use anything that we give him. If you're good at business, it's like, cool, then let's use our business skills to raise finances for this. So that's very encouraging. Some things that happened this year that were exciting is Emily is our director of the Lovely Project. She does a wonderful job, and we were able to hire 2 more part-time people because of the funds they raised, and so that they were able to get into more schools. And so Angela and Tiffany have been working this year and doing an amazing job, and so we're really proud of them. I'd just like to tell one more story before I end of something neat that happened, an opportunity that came about. In one of our schools, the public schools that we're in, that school had an opportunity to take a few students to Europe this summer. And so they said, okay, well, we're picking students based on their character, their grades, their behavior. And so most of the girls that were chosen to go on this trip were girls from our Lovely program that meets there. And the principal there recognized how those girls have grown in their character and their behavior and their grades. And so a lot of the girls were chosen. So they asked Emily to go as chaperones, and she already has a relationship with all the girls. And so just so you know, Lovely didn't pay for them all to go. They all had to fundraise and raise money to attend. But something that happened that was just a very striking moment for me in what we do here in the city is when Emily said when they got to the airport that there was one girl who her whole family came out to see her off. Not just mom and dad and siblings, but like aunts, uncles, grandmothers, you know, everyone was there. And when they were about to board the plane, this is very touching to me, the dad, you know, grabbed his daughter's face and said, we are so proud of you. You are the first person in our entire family to leave the state of Florida. You're the first one to do it, and we're so proud that you've been given this opportunity. And so that is just I think it's very special that we're doing things not only to be a bridge into the church, but to help even remove the lid from some of these girls' lives, that they're being given opportunities that are moving up their family, in life. And so I'm very proud of that. And I just want to end with this stat. This year we have seen a 30% increase in youth group, the amount that attend youth group, directly from our lovely groups. The number of youth group has gone up 30% because there has been a bridge, and girls in the lovely programs have built relationship and then are now trying out church. So that's amazing.
So as most of you know, we bought property in Apopka, and we are still trying to get that main building built out there. But there was an older piece of property that was on that land, and so the elders decided, in being good stewards of what God has given us, to not just knock it down and let the property sit vacant. So what we are doing is we are currently in the process of remodeling that house to make it available to do ministry in, to do events in. The idea is that we as a church, and like I said, being a good steward, we want to make money for the church with the things that we've been given and blessed with. And so we're going to turn it into an event venue that's going to be running events out of it. As you can see, we just got stucco on this past week. The drywall's going in, painting's coming in the next week or so. So it is moving along, and we are trying to do everything we can with everything that we have. We're not just improving this property. We're also not letting this property sit because we're looking forward to Apopka. We are going to be the best stewards we can with everything that God has given us. And so this property is very exciting for us, that it is going to generate income for this congregation. We're partnering with some businesses from the church that want to help fund it and fund that, because we are big believers in business and church integrating together, that God has called us to make money so we can be more generous with these things. There's also incredibly generous people that are in this church, and the Sellers brothers have taken on this project, and people are donating their time, their money, their gifting, just to get this done, because they see the vision behind it. So it really is incredible. If you don't know where it is, I think the address is somewhere on our website somewhere. You can find it. She does admin. You can ask Aslan. Pastor Aslan. She does admin. 1567 Plymouth Sorrento Road. If you're in that area, stop by, pray over it, see it. It's incredible. We believe prayer is powerful, so we want you to stop by. But we are just excited to see what God is going to do. We want to get our footprint out there. We want to get the DNA of our church into that community, because there's a big need for that. There's a void of churches in that area. So we're going to start running events starting in January. You guys are going to hear about events happening on this property, and it's very, very exciting to see. The next thing is the Unlimited program. This is a program that my wife started, I don't even know how many years ago. It is an incredible thing. So what it is it is a special needs ministry. And the vision behind it is that, like Jesus, the parable of leaving the 99 for the one, the special needs community is very often the one that is left behind, the one that is left out. And we believe as a church that every single person needs to be given every opportunity they can to have a relationship with Christ. Whether they can talk, whether we know how much they're comprehending, whatever the circumstance is, they deserve every ounce of effort we have to help them develop a relationship with Christ. So this program, they do music therapy, they do just all kinds of different therapies in different ways and use different skills. There's people in this church who are trained and certified and that love these children, are just using everything they have to push these children into a relationship with Christ. So much so that 3 other churches this year, 2 of them being mega churches in the Central Florida area, have reached out saying, can you please help us develop a program of our own? It's incredible. One of the directors that was speaking to my wife said something along the lines of, we have all the money, but we don't have any vision for this. But we know we have a need. So it's just one more way that we are connected to the community, and multiple churches see the work that you are putting in to your families and the congregation and the people that go here. They see the work. It is being noticed, and it is good. And so they're wanting to just be a part of what it is that we've developed here, and it's really encouraging, and it's incredible.
absolutely phenomenal. There's an old Quaker phrase that says, hands to work, hearts to God. And that's something that we really want to be the spirit of our church, that we have a heart for God and we give our heart to God, but we must put our hands to work. There's an old story from, I think, about the 1200s or so in England, when the King of England basically said, where is all our gold? Because they were running out of gold to run the country. And so he went to his treasurer and said, where is all our gold? And he said, well, the gold has been taken by the church and has been made into the shape of saints. And he said this, he said, melt down the saints and put them back into circulation. This is what we want to be. We want to be the saints who are melted down before God, and we're prostrate before God, serving God, and put into the circulation of what we are called to do in this world. And so the last thing is what we have been doing internationally. As many of you know, Father Rick Sr. and Miss Betty died this year. About 35 or 40 years ago, they planted a ministry in Ukraine. And in Ukraine, they have planted hundreds of churches. In fact, they don't really know how many churches, because now those churches have planted other churches too. Well, over the last few years, they've really had to transition to the next generation of leaders. And so about once a week or every other week, I usually have been meeting with pastors from Ukraine, just doing mentorship with them, trying to teach them how to grow their churches a bit more. And many of you on the teams as well, the team leads have gotten you on the call as well to talk about how you're doing what you do. And they have always said how grateful they are for what you have given to them. Well, just recently, we have now just passed this off from being an American-based ministry to now being a Ukrainian-based ministry, that all these pastors now have a board of directors from Ukraine that are now taking on that ministry and looking to grow across Europe as well. We also are in partnership now with a church in Scotland, which is really good for us, right? Because it's always important to be connected to the land of God. That's where God is, right? So there's a church there that we have really grown in affinity with, and we've said, let's be in partnership with each other. So we sent a missionary team to them this year, and we're looking to send a missionary team next year as well. So if you've ever wanted to have a chance to go to Scotland and shovel snow, now is your chance to do that, because we're connected there. One last thing as well. I just met with a pastor from Norway who is tasked with overseeing Exponential Conference over there, and they have been making a network of pastors there to start planting churches more across Europe, because in Europe it's kind of very humanistic country, right? And they've got difficulties and challenges with trying to grow the faith of Jesus Christ in people, growing disciples over there. So they contacted us and said, would you be a part of this too? Would you want to be a part of being connected and growing this whole thing together, and also investing in it too? And we said, I'll speak to the elders, is what I said. So I can't say yes yet, because I haven't even told the elders yet. So there you go. You know it before the elders know it. But it's been quite amazing what God has been doing in us and through us quite a bit this year. And really for next year, we believe that we're going to continue on with what God has called us to do. We're going to continue on doing the things that God has called us to do, and we're seeing how much more work we've got. And I want you to be a part of it more than you've ever been before, because this isn't just about what the pastors are doing or something. This is about us together, right? This is about what God has called us together to do. So the way I want to finish this service, we've come to the top of the hour right now, but I'm going to ask you for the grace to have 5 more minutes of this service right now. Why? Because I want you to do a thing for me. I want you to speak to the person right beside you and speak to them about what God did in your life for 2024. Because I do believe that God has done great things in you and through you too. And so what is it that he has done in you? What is it that you feel called to do next year? I want you to turn to the person and ask them, what is it that God has done in you and through you? Tell me more about it. And if you don't know what to say and you look at each other feeling really weird, then just pray with one another, right? You're all disciples. Surely you can do this, right? And so I want you to talk about that and inspire one another. And it's amazing what you say. You might think is not really a lot to say or something, but it might be the very thing that person beside you needs to hear. And if you don't like the person you're sitting beside because it's your spouse, then go find someone else in the room. It's all good with me. So before I hand it off back to Rick and Laura, I want to just set you off and share your story. Are you ready to do that? Ready, steady, let's go.